Good morning, afternoon, or evening, everyone, depending on where you're joining us from. Welcome to the Lead Forward Summit 2026. My name is Bola Wadibayo, and you can just simply call me GB, and then I'll be your session moderator for this session. I am a mentor in the Mentoring Club, and we are thrilled to have you join us for this exciting event dedicated to honoring leaders in motion on purpose. Some housekeeping rules. The chat is disabled, so we all get to focus on the speaker's story. Please put your questions into the Q&A session. We will review them and direct them to our keynote speakers later. Depending on the time, we can ask you to enable your audio to ask your questions to the keynote speakers. You are in the keynote session, Beyond the Myth, Leaders in Motion on Purpose. To start off, it's my pleasure to introduce our speakers. Margo Murray, President and Chief Operating Officer of MMHA, the Managers Mentors Incorporation. Liesel Mendoza, founder and CEO of the Mentoring Club. Let's give them a warm virtual welcome.
Thank you very much, GB. And welcome, Margo. Thank you for being here with us today for this conversation. It's been a long time in the coming 10 years since we first met each other. I was looking back at some of the emails that we exchanged, and I saw the first email was January 19, right? So that gives me really a warm feeling that 10 years and here we are. We are talking to our global audience through this summit. So let me give you the floor to welcome our audience and say a little something about yourself.
I hope there are a lot of people who are tuning in to this morning's session, which I believe that Liesel and I will model some of the dialogue that takes place between effective mentors and their partners. The person who wrote my biographical sketch shaved a couple of decades off of my experience. And so I'm going to be going back a lot of years to answer some of the questions that Liesel posed that we address during this keynote session. So welcome to all of you around the world. I personally have worked in 26 countries and visited 41, studying business and commerce and geography and especially culture to prepare myself to be an effective facilitator of improving human performance.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Margo. So I really was imagining this session to be a conversation between the two of us, two people who are, I would put it in a generic term, trying to change the world for the better by helping people become better leaders. And so how are we doing that? Is probably the big question. How are we doing that? And then how did we start getting to do that? So I have some questions for you, Margo. And I know you celebrated your 50th year anniversary in your company, being in this space for that long. So tell us what got you into this space of mentoring.
Well, actually, my career started a couple of decades before I founded MMHA when I worked for our federal government, the United States Air Force, and then for one of the major telecommunications companies, Pacific Telephone. And in both of those organizations, I looked for ways to improve human performance, and consequently was selected for an accelerated promotion program that had some features of a mentoring relationship in that I was assigned to someone who would guide some of my additional development. And I enrolled in college at night at that time. And then after finishing my undergraduate degree, I was recruited and hired by the telephone company in another accelerated promotion program that was called the Management Achievement Program. However, at that time, it literally was a men's achievement program because I was the first woman to be hired at that level. And again, it had some of the features of a mentoring process with a boss, and I had to demonstrate that I could be promoted 2 levels within 3 years, or I would be terminated. So there was risk to the assignment, and that piqued my interest about how could you facilitate a process such as that to develop human potential and make sure that people were not left out of it. So that's when I started researching the facilitated mentoring process that eventually turned into my book, Beyond the Myths and Magic of Mentoring. And thank you for including part of the title in this session. And that's considered the seminal work on facilitated mentoring. And we continue to research in different cultures around the world. Terminology is just one of the issues that requires careful translation, but certainly recognizing the different mores and practices and cultures that impact whether a facilitated mentoring process can work in that culture. And so after getting more closely in touch with my values of helping people to learn, I decided that I could no longer work in environments that conflicted my values, and I founded MMHA in 1974.
Congratulations. And in the past 50 years that you've been doing the work, what are the key realizations when we talk about beyond the myth and magic? What are the key realizations that you discovered along the way?
In my research, I read what one author said, that he believed that mentoring was a magic chemical reaction that took place between two people that enabled them to work closely together. And my research and practice in big organizations where I honed my leadership and management skills was that it wasn't magic, and it did require facilitation. And so I developed the model that we have continued to refine over the years. And I know a lot of organizations rebel at structure or bureaucracy or something that they consider too rigid. And that's why I chose the term facilitated, meaning that the facilitation is seeing that the pairs come together for a purpose. And that is that one of them has a gap in skills or experience, and the other has mastery level in those wanted and needed skills and experience. And a second feature of the facilitation is that if it's within an organization, the organization cares enough about the development of its people to also measure the results and see that there is some return on the investment that they're making in these people. When it is cross-organizational, it's really up to the pair to determine how they will measure that transfer of skills and experiences from one to the other. And that takes some tools. And this morning I was looking at a Forbes report about artificial intelligence, how that's providing some tools. But what it's also doing is risking creating greater distance in the human component of the assets of an organization. And so that creates a greater need for mentoring relationships to fill that gap of the human component and the caring. And what we've found in our research is that AI and any other form of classroom training or online courses, e-learning, whatever it's called in the jargon of the day, can transfer certain knowledges, but what it often misses is the tacit knowledge that a mentor can provide and fill in, and those experiences that create the context for applying those skills. So whether it's on an organizational level or an individual level, some measures have to be done pre and post to first determine an appropriate match, and then in the results to determine did there have some benefits or payoff to it. And my longtime colleague, Dr. Roger Addison, always says, start with the end in mind. What are the results that you want from this relationship or from this mentoring process? And if you have clarity on the desired outcomes, then you can choose the most effective and efficient way to go about achieving those results.
Yes. So I have two things there that I will do just a quick comment on. When you mentioned AI, I was in an event in Silicon Valley where it's AI experts, and then in the one-on-one conversation after the session, I thought, oh, this is what I'm doing. I'm doing the mentoring club, and what do you think about AI and mentoring? And then he said, so he's a techie, right? So he said, give me the parameters and we can do it. And so I thought, okay, maybe when you said, the tacit, right, the caring, the human element of being able to look at somebody's situation and empathize and give that caring guidance. I am a tech person. I have spent my career 30 years in tech, still somewhat in tech with the platform-based approach to mentoring. But I think it may get there, but not now. And then the human element of it will be very, very, very hard to replace. And then so the other aspect that you mentioned is about the purpose, the end in mind. And so if there are mentees who are with us in the audience right now, that is why I keep pounding on, where is your development plan? What are your goals and what are the skills that you need to develop to achieve those goals? And those are the things that you work with your mentor on. So hello there, everyone. I don't see you, but if you are there, take Margo's word for it. And, and so the next question I have for you, Margo, is what are the challenges? So it's been 50 years. So I'm, even though I'm in a nonprofit environment and you're in a for-profit environment, it's always about staying in the game. So what are the challenges so far?
Well, obviously, one of the challenges with creating a mentoring relationship in an organization is what has traditionally been the model of leadership and management. And most U.S. organizations were created using the model of the military and the Catholic Church. And in both of those types of organizations, leadership was considered to be maintained at a distance from those that you were leading. And so for a manager or supervisor to agree to have one of his or her direct reports in a relationship with someone who was outside that hierarchical management structure was a big challenge, because the supervisor would refuse to allow time for the employee to meet with the mentor and sabotage the outcomes of the relationship in that way. So then along came what was called matrix management, where any member of a team could assume leadership at any particular time. And the visual metaphor that has often been used, and I have used for that, is a flock of geese, a skein of geese, where they traditionally are in a V formation, but at any given moment, the lead goose in that formation can drop back when tired and being buffeted by the winds, and any other member of the flock can move into that leadership position. So if we think of leadership in that way, and we consider any member of the team to be capable of taking the lead when a particular task or effort has a requirement, a demand for a particular skill that not everyone may have, but that's why there's strength in diversity among teams, because it allows for people with different skills and experiences to assume that leadership position when those skills would be most in demand. So I think overcoming the challenge of having someone work directly with someone who reports to you has been a challenge in many countries where the hierarchical form of management or structure of an organization is still in practice. And the fact that after COVID, when managers were uncomfortable with remote leadership and management and started demanding that people come back to the office, and they were revealing that they did not know how to lead or manage or supervise work other than by the clock or the calendar or the bodies in seats in an office. And so that was a disservice, I think, to a lot of people who were more productive when working remotely, because it met their needs for transportation and childcare and lots of other challenges that individual employees face.
Given those observations and given what you're seeing that may be happening in the next few years, do you have a sense? Of course, we can't tell the future, but what is your sense of the future of mentoring and facilitated mentoring, whether it's in an organization or a community setting?
I believe that the future will require what happens in a mentoring relationship to a greater extent, because of the proximity and the importance that that has, especially if some of the tasks that employees might have carried out are better served through an AI, some of the routine things, so that meetings, just like we're having with this webinar, at a distance, is denying people of that affiliation needs. And many years ago, when one of the big tech firms, IBM, I can name them because they later acknowledged this, they wanted to put everybody to work on flex time at home with an extra phone line and at that time a fax machine and things like that. And then they realized that people's affiliation needs were not being met. And so they had to rotate back to maybe one day a week. People would come into the office and they set aside space for meeting rooms. So I think there has to be a balance as we move into the future of meeting all of the human needs of people. So not only providing them with the tools such as AI to perform more efficiently, but providing them with the proximity of human interaction to enable those human needs, affiliation needs to be met.
AI definitely is something that we cannot ignore. We have to embrace it and learn how to leverage it in our day-to-day lives, whether it's work or personal. So we need to understand definitely how we could harness that power that's within that technology. But in that process, we don't want to lose our humanity, because that's that's why we're here, to care for each other.
Yes,
So
human beings are social animals, and we weren't meant to live in isolation. And I think there's many studies going on about what the remote work creates in terms of loneliness for people and the impact that has on their productivity and the results that they produce. I hope that event you went to in Silicon Valley had some people who also are researching on the ethics and the ethical use of AI and the risks that are there, both for organizations and for individuals in terms of identity theft and the risks that are so much easier with the unethical use of that tool.
Yes, absolutely. So I guess now, well, my question comes back to being personal. So if you remember when I reached out to you in 2016, I knew that this is the passion project that I wanted to do as my give back, my next decade or 2 or 3 decades of my life. um, and so the first time I would just wanted to go back, historically in time, a little bit of nostalgia, but honestly, when I first approach you, somebody from tech, no psychology background, no organizational development background, what was your impression when I said, so Roger, our mutual friend, was the one who introduced me to you, because I declared to all my friends, this is what I want to do. I want to set up a platform-based approach to mentoring for leadership development for people in the workforce. And he had a suggestion right away. He said, oh, you have to meet Margo Murray. I borrowed his book. So this your book, Beyond the Myths and Magic of Mentoring. So I borrowed his book before I met with you. I had to read the book before I met with you. And when I met with you, it was really refreshing and inspirational for me. But what is your impression?
Well, you mentioned the work that you've done, and sometimes I worry about you, Liesel. I think you work constantly, and I remind you to get some rest and delegate, because obviously you've created something that has value, and because of your human contact with almost everybody that's within the mentoring club now. But going back to our initial meeting, I thought you had set a goal to do it by a certain age a certain birthday. And I thought, that's very ambitious. And coming from the high-tech organization that you were, I knew that you had, the knowledge and the expertise and the skills to apply that way. And then I reminded myself of something my mother always said, and I know how much you treasure your late mother as well. And my mother always said, our reach should exceed our grasp, else what's a heaven for? And so I thought, well, Liesel's reach may be exceeding her grasp right now. However, I saw that drive and that passion for what you wanted to create, and it paralleled my values of people helping people to learn, and that no generation should have to learn by trial and error what some previous generation has already learned. And so our t-shirt, as you know, says, be a mentor, and on the back it says, pass it on. So I think that I saw in you the passion to create a framework where more people would develop the values of passing on the skills and experience that they had gained, because trial and error learning is the most expensive learning that one can have. Because if we try something and we fail at it, what we have learned is not to try. And so more people are stymied in their growth and development by being forced to learn by trial and error when there is someone else, maybe not in their own organization, because the higher you go in your organization or in your profession, the less likely you are to find a mentor within an organization. So looking outside the organization. And that's one of the significant values that you're providing with the mentoring club, is that framework that connects people across geography and certainly across organizations, and exposes them to a wider range of experiences. And I know that when we've done workshops for your mentors, we've stressed the fact that a mentor does not have to be all things to every person that they partner with, but can recommend and refer someone else in their network who does have the skills that that particular mentor lacks. And that's why our facilitated model recommends a series of mentoring relationships rather than one that's suggested to last a lifetime. Because once the transfer of the agreed skills and experiences has been completed, then each of the partners can move on to another pairing, and that actually scales the process, making it available to more people. And in a lot of the organizations that we've worked with, hundreds of them over the 7 decades, 5 decades, whatever, we've seen many of the people who had the benefit of having a mentor and then said, I can do that for someone else. And then they step up and volunteer to become a mentor, which of course contributes to the scalability of the process, and also potentially the succession plan for an organization or even a nonprofit.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, that is definitely the model that we have in the mentoring club, learning from the lessons that you shared with me in our conversations, that it doesn't, one person doesn't need to just have one mentor, because we're developing skills, and those skills can come, the guidance for those skills can come from different mentors.
You were kind enough to mention my book, which is timeless, although did do the second edition to update some of the case studies in it. But as you know, the original mentoring concept started with the Greek myth of Odysseus, and yet there's still a lot of myths that prevail, like the mentor has to be older and wiser and at a higher level in the organization. So which of those myths about mentoring was the most difficult for you to overcome as you have grown and refined the mentoring club?
I wouldn't say any of the realizations was difficult. It was like kind of an aha moment. Okay. And there are actually two myths that that I would like to share. It's one on the mentee side, and another one on the mentor side. So when I started the mentoring club, I was one of the reasons why I established it, in addition to the realization that I really enjoy helping people develop themselves as leaders. So that's where the passion is coming from. The other part of it was when I was networking within Silicon Valley at that time, I heard from younger professionals the questions: how do I find a mentor? Is my manager my mentor? How do I ask somebody to become my mentor? And so when I looked at the profile of those people who were asking the questions, they were younger professionals. And so when I established the mentoring club, I said, this is a mentoring community. Our mission is to provide a mentoring community for young leaders. But when we launched the platform, so online, I have no control who to recruit as mentees, who to recruit as mentors. Online, anybody can come in. So mid-career people and advanced career people signed up as mentees, not mentors, right? So there was a 60-year-old mentee who signed up. She's already climbed the corporate ladder, and she wanted to transition her career from corporate to consulting. And so I said, okay, then we are not just for young leaders. We are for everybody in their careers who need to guidance from a more experienced person. So that was the first one. So that's why I said it wasn't difficult. It was like a step-by-step realization, and then being responsive to that fact that's happening in front of me. And so I said, okay, so we're not just for young leaders. Our mission is to provide a mentoring community for aspiring and seasoned leaders. So the aspiring represents the younger professionals or younger working people, because we have farmers in Kenya. They may not, or street vendors who would like to become leaders. They are in the workforce and they don't necessarily think of themselves as professionals. So we serve them. And then the seasoned leaders would represent both leaders who have already advanced in their careers but need to be mentored or need to connect with mentors, and also the mentors who have already realized that they have something to give back. So that was the first myth on the mentee side. On the mentor side, I was also wrong, but I discovered this early on because I was still doing my succession planning at J-Wave the 4 years that after 2016, I said, okay, this is what I'm going to do. And one of my clients at J-Wave asked me about a LinkedIn post about the mentoring club that I did post. And she said, I'd like to talk to you about the mentoring club. And I'm guessing at that time, she was in her late 20s, early 30s. And I thought, I wonder if she wants to become a mentee. So again, the age, right? And so I was just listening, and she said, I want to become a mentor because I've benefited early on in my career from the help of mentors. And so I said, that's wonderful, right? So please register as a mentor. And so with that, again, realization happening in front of me, I said, okay, well, this is where the definition of mentoring really comes in. And I got that definition from your book. The definition of mentoring is that it is a deliberate pairing of a more skilled, more experienced person with a less skilled, less experienced one, with the mutually agreed goal of having the less skilled person grow and develop specific competencies. And so that's exactly what the platform is doing. There's no age. We don't say how old are you or how many years of experience do you have. Initially, I was thinking 20 years of experience to become a mentor, but that client debunked that for me. So and I'm so grateful that it happened very early on. So both of these occurrences happened very, very early on in the life of the mentoring club. And so I was able to adjust that thinking.
I was going to say that I think in the preparation of the pair for that mutual transfer, it's you mentioned this earlier, the development plan, and how that is the linchpin for the relationship, as well as having someone to coordinate the process. And I think that an organization that's considering implementing a mentoring process or creating a mentoring culture, I'm active with, of course, the International Mentoring Association. I've served on the board many years ago for about 10 years, and now have endowed an award there for effective results at the societal level with mentoring. So they offer training for organizations that want to create a mentoring culture. And I would encourage people to research that and learn about that. The other thing that occurred to me is for people to become a productive, active partner in a mentoring pair, the clarification of values is extremely important. And I had worked for probably close to 15 years before I learned this myself. So I went through some personal growth seminars and realized that, as I said earlier, I was working hard for things I hoped would never happen, like war. And so my values were conflicted. And in one of those seminars, I wrote my epitaph. That was one of the exercises, is to think of writing your own epitaph. And mine, I pulled it out recently again to look at it, to do a check on, am I true to my values now and living with my values? And my epitaph says, Margo is to be remembered for having created environments within which other people achieve their goals. Not my goals for them, but their goals for them, and to help them clarify their values so that they are setting goals that are consistent with their values.
And I am one of those people, Margo. You have a live a person that you have helped. For sure, right? So when I was thinking about the mentoring club, and why would people join as mentors? Why would people trust us as mentees? So I need to make sure that we have our values declared. You'll see this on our website. You'll see this on even this conference website, when you look at the About section, you would see there the values that we have: trust, leadership, and community. And under each one of those, there are sub-values. Like for trust, integrity, honesty, and commitment are what make us trustworthy as individuals and professionals. For leadership, we believe that health, vision, and execution are all needed to become successful leaders. One without the others pretty much leads to nothing. We have to have all, right? And then community, humanity, contentment, family, those are the social grounding forces that make us feel fulfilled and happy. So at the end of the day, even though we're successful as leaders, if we don't have anybody to share those success with, then it will be a lonely success. So all the mentors, all the mentees that are coming into the organization and found the time to speak with me for an informational session, that is how I'm trying to build a solid foundation for the organization so that there's values alignment. So there you go. That is your epitaph in action. So leaders in motion on purpose.
I want to applaud you and your team for all of the effort that you've put into this summit. As I watched all of the strategies that you were putting in place and the tools and the number of people. So first of all, I want to applaud you, Liesel, for the delegation that you have shown with this, and to all of your team for the hard work that they put into it. So as you envision this 2-day sharing of experiences in the sessions, what is it that you would like all of the participants to consider doing tomorrow that would cause you to say that the work you put into the Leadership Summit, the LeadForward Summit, was worth the effort?
What I would like for people to take away from the sessions that they will go to in these 2 days is, as they listen to the stories of the people who are, being vulnerable, having the courage to share their failures and successes, and why they connected with mentors in their lives. I would like for people to think after the conference or even during the conference to reflect on where they are at this time. Do they feel fulfilled with the work that they're doing? And if the answer is yes, then how can you amplify that so that you can also influence other people to feel fulfilled in whatever they're doing? If the answer to that is no, then I would encourage people to find what it is that is meaningful work for them, so that the fulfillment will come from putting in your efforts towards that meaningful work. So when we're doing meaningful work, that's when the leaders in us come out, because we care about the results. And that is how we can make a positive impact in the world. That's how we can make the world a better place for us and for everybody around us. And maybe, depending on the work that you're doing, it could be millions of people around the world as well. So, so that would be what I would wish that people attending the conference, attending the sessions would think about. Reflect on their own situation. Where are they? What are their values? What makes them feel fulfilled? And then take action. So leaders in motion on purpose, take action towards what it is that you think will give you fulfillment. So thank you for that. And I would just like to check in with GB and Daria. Do we have any questions from the audience that you would like us to address?
We had one question about the book's name, which I put it out in the chat and responded so far.
Okay, so yes, you have it. Beyond the Myths and Magic of Mentoring, How to Facilitate an Effective Mentoring Process. And Margo also has some workbooks that go with that. I remember when I visited your place in Oakland, Margo, the first time we met, I was sitting on your desk and I have all of those workbooks. Oh, there you go. So there's a workbook for mentors, there's a workbook for mentees, right? And uh, and yes, in the digital age, you can always put something on a drive, on a Google Drive. But however, when you want to go back to something, and also the process of writing down things, it's more ingrained in your mind what you committed to.
We do have a question from Alina. What are 3 current criteria for organizing effective teams, in your opinion?
Well, I did mention diversity. I would say that an effective team would be engaged with the goals and mission of the organization, and would be comprised of people with different skills and experiences. One of the business articles that I scanned this morning dealt with the lack of engagement of people in organizations that things like AI is leading to. But I think, as I mentioned, the metaphor of the geese is that anyone can learn the skills of leading. And facing, first of all, would be, what is the vision that the founders, such as you, Liesel, with the Mentoring Club, what is the vision that the founders of the organization had? And is that vision still in effect today? Or has technology or other global issues like the scarcity of resources changed the vision? So I think an organization and the team members in that organization should revisit their stakeholder analysis at least every year and confirm that those stakeholders' inputs are still required and the expected outputs are still being produced. So that's where the different skills would be required. And I know that that's more than 3, but I think that that's the way I would want to form a team. And our strategic planning model has a picture of the individual responsibilities as a member of the team and the team's responsibilities leading to the results that the organization exists to produce. Reviewing the mission, reviewing, first of all, the stakeholders' expectations, verifying the values held by the organization and the goal, and then making sure that the goals are current and relevant and that resources are committed to maintaining that. So maybe the third thing important for an effective team is provide it with the resources that they need to perform.
I agree with you on that. So if I were to answer that question as well, so I would go with what Margo said, vision, right? So they have to know where they're going, because otherwise, how would they know if they already are there? So, so vision is very important. And then the culture, which incorporates the values. How are we going to get there? So there's the straight path or a crooked path, right? And that's where the ethics come in from a professional standpoint. So I'd say vision, the culture, which is grounded on values that you all are aligned on. And then on the execution side, I would say it's very critical for there to be open communication and empathy. So those two come together, because if somebody communicates something and you're the receiver, you need to have that sense of openness to empathize with what the other person is communicating to you. If you are the communicator, then you have to have that clarity that this is what I want this person to act on, and therefore this is how I'm going to communicate it. So in both ways, there is empathy that's happening. And so I think if you have those, if you're limited to three, based on the question, those would be the three very important elements that I would have to have an effective team.
Well, Liesel, that prompts me to think of a real world example. Back when globally there were what was called the Big Eight accounting auditing firms. And in this one organization, I was asked to bring our team in and do a using time workshop, because time management was one of the things that every organization said they needed training on in those days. So I said, well, we do have a workbook on using time. And I asked for the corporate mission statement and goals in order to tailor that workshop for this particular organization. And I was told, oh, well, we don't let anybody below partner level have those documents. And I thought, how can you expect your teams to produce the audits or the accounting projects that is your business, your livelihood, if they don't know what the mission and goals of the organization is? And interestingly enough, when I did get some data from them, one of the things they said they valued was honesty in communication. And today it would be called transparency, probably. And yet some of the teams found out that top management was taking the profits from their vending machines for themselves. So that was a culture that said they valued honesty in communication and transparency, and yet they were cheating the employees of a potential bonus or benefit to them. So not only is that communication important, but it is essential that it be lived as well as voiced.
Yeah, yes, absolutely. Words and action. All right. So I thank you, Margo. So I'm looking at the time and respecting the time. Would you have any parting words, and then we can give the floor to GB?
Well, maybe it's a bit of a repetition, but again, thank you to this fabulous team who have put together the Lead Forward Summit, and will be continuing to guide its effectiveness over the rest of today and tomorrow. And thank you, Liesel, for inviting me to share a conversation with you. I think this is the most that we've talked together in the 10 years since, because we've usually been focused on a workshop or helping someone else or getting resources to someone else. So thank you for inviting me to share the time with you and to share some of my experiences that lets me live within my values and pass it on.
Yes, thank you, Margo. You can't imagine how much fun this conversation has been for me. So when I started the day with the team, I said, "Come on, let's have fun." So we put in the work. Let's have fun. So this is very much fun for me. Thank you very much for being here. GB?
Stay safe, you all. A round of applause to all of you.
Thank you once again, Margo. Thank you, Liesel, for the enlightening conversation. We want to still open the floor to our audience's questions. If you've not submitted your question yet, please feel free to do so in the Q&A section. So we could check quickly if we have any questions still. I would like to extend a heartfelt thank you once again to our generous speakers, Margo and Liesel. The insights you've given from this session has truly made this session valuable, and you've given us a reason for reflections, to pause for reflections. We appreciate the time and the effort you've dedicated to sharing your knowledge with us today. Let us all give a virtual round of applause again to Margo and to Liesel for the session. Thank you. So we value your feedback. Kindly complete the session surveys to help us improve and continue delivering impactful events. As a thank you, you'll receive 1 month of free Mentee subscription to the Mentoring Club for every session survey completed. For example, if you complete 6 surveys, you get 6 months free. A discount code will be sent to you a few days after the event. You can use it for yourself or gift it. Plus, the first 10 respondents would receive exclusive giveaways, including the Mentoring Club t-shirts, luggage tags, and caps. As supplies last, shipping limitations may apply to Oceania, Africa, and Asia due to higher costs. Thank you for helping us make a difference. Loving today's session, take the next step, become a mentor or a mentee. Scan the QR code to join the Mentoring Club and make a lasting impact. I'm just going to hold on for a minute there to let the audience be able to scan the QR code. Ready to dive deeper into leadership development? Join our premium workshops for in-depth multi-session learning experiences over the coming months. These workshops build on the Summit Workshops insights and are designed to help you grow as a leader. Scan the QR code to learn more. When you sign up today, you get a 25% discount using the promo code LFS 2026-WKP. Once again, LFS 2026-WKP. Get the VIP pass for on-demand access to all event recordings after the summit. It's perfect for rewatching your favorite sessions or catching the ones you missed. We are offering the VIP pass for $13 for 13 sessions. To celebrate our 10th year anniversary with you, we're extending a 10% discount when you subscribe to the VIP pass today. Just simply scan the QR code you can see. Please join us for the next session, Crossing Boundaries, Mentoring Across Generations, Geographies, and Cultures. In the meantime, we are going to enable the chat, so you feel free to connect with fellow attendees, share your thoughts, and engage with one another in the chat. This is a fantastic opportunity to expand your network and exchange ideas with like-minded individuals from around the world. In just a moment, we'll play a special video introduction about the Mentoring Club. This video will provide you with a deeper understanding of the TMC's vision, mission, core values, and insights from our mentees, mentors, volunteers, donors, and supporters. I remain here as your host, so if you have any questions or you need any assistance, don't hesitate to reach out. Let us make the most of this time to connect and learn more about the purposeful work TMC is doing.
I am a leader, and resilience taught me how to stand. Now, resilience itself wasn't something that I learned from books or training or YouTube videos. It was learned when my life and my career were ultimately abruptly interrupted. In my early 30s, I survived multiple strokes and, in the end, heart surgery. And not long after that, sadly, I experienced quite an abrupt redundancy from the company that I invested years of loyalty to. So in a relatively short space of time within our own lifespans, both my health, my identity, and my confidence were all extraordinarily challenged. Now, those experiences forced me to slow down, reflect on what leadership really means. I learned that true leadership isn't actually about control or certainty. It's about emotional intelligence, self-awareness, and the ability to show up with clarity, not when things are easy, but when things are truly uncomfortable. I discovered that people don't need perfect leaders. They need present ones. Leaders who listen, communicate honestly, and who create safe environments for growth, especially during change. This is how I lead forward.
I am a leader, and emotional safety matters to me. I didn't grow up in emotional safe environments, so I'm very aware of how spaces can either open people up or shut them down. I know what it feels like to constantly read the room, to second guess yourself, or to stay quiet just to make the peace. That's why when I lead, I am intentional. I check on how people are doing, not what they're just producing. I make it okay to ask questions. I don't shame mistakes. When I talk about emotional safety, I'm not talking about being soft. I don't see it as weakness at all. I see it as clarity and follow through. Because safety is built on what happens after the conversation. When people feel safe, they don't hold back. They show up. They contribute. They grow. That's the kind of leadership I stand behind. This is how I lead forward.
I am a leader, and I lead with purpose, not fear. In 1999, I had a new job managing a web development group within a large company. We had a pretty primitive website, and we needed to replace it, and management wanted it done soon. I could have sat down with the team and said, okay guys, here's what we're going to do and here's when we're going to do it by. Basically just giving orders. But instead, we sat around a table and we talked about what it would take to get the job done. And everybody agreed on various dates that they could do it. Together, we said, okay, before we leave for holiday vacation this year, we're going to have this done. Is everybody in? Everybody was in. Well, as things went, some things were done sooner, some things took a little longer, and we came very close to the wire. But you know what? Every single member of my team stayed, whether their piece was done or not, and helped out as best they could. And we released that website on time as we promised. That wouldn't have happened if we didn't have buy-in across the whole group. This is how I lead forward.
I am a leader. I was born to a modest couple in the Philippines, the youngest of 4 girls. My mom was my greatest influence. I take after her with her kindness and creative problem-solving discipline. I have been in California for 22 years now. I joined an internet consulting company in Silicon Valley as business development manager in 2002, became chief operating officer and part owner after 8 years, then exited in 2020 to focus on the Mentoring Club, my give back passion project. The Mentoring Club connects working people to accomplished leaders for leadership development mentoring. With a growing community of hundreds of mentors, mentees, volunteers, donors, and partners globally, we are giving the gift of leaders to the world.
What is my vision for the Mentoring Club? When I started the Mentoring Club in 2016, I declared that our mission is to provide a mentoring community for young leaders. When we launched, not only young leaders signed up, mid-career people and advanced career people signed up. And so we evolved our mission to provide a mentoring community for aspiring and seasoned leaders, where seasoned leaders refer to both the mentors and the mentees. Today, anywhere in the world, We help working people find mentors who can guide them to develop the skills they need to achieve their career and life goals. We help mentees fulfill their goals through meaningful work that creates positive impact in the world. We believe that when we're doing meaningful work, that's when the leaders in us come out because we care about the results. And when we care about the results, then that is how we can make a positive impact in the world. Ultimately, my vision is that as mentees become successful leaders, my dream is for them to become mentors to others. And that's how the cycle of giving back can continue, hopefully without end, hopefully even long after I'm gone.
When Liesel put that vision on the screen, it made it so easy for me, one, to take in, and two, to brag and share. This is what the Mentoring Club is about. Now, contrast that with, here's a one-page brochure. Read it and then share it. I'm not likely to do that, but just because Liesel made it easy for me to see a picture, the best part of the picture, I could see myself in that picture.
One of the ways we attract people into the Mentoring Club is to share our leadership core values. Our anchor values are trust, leadership, and community. Under trust, we believe that integrity, honesty, and commitment are what make us trustworthy as individuals and professionals. Under leadership, we believe that health, vision, and execution are all needed to be successful leaders. One without the others pretty much leads to nothing. We have to have all of them. And it is understandable that not all of us will be great at both visioning and execution. So if you're great at visioning, find somebody to help you execute. And if you're great at execution, find somebody whose vision you can support and help execute. That way, both of you can become successful leaders. And the last anchor value, community. Under community, we believe that humanity, contentment, family are the social grounding forces that make us feel fulfilled and happy. At the end of the day, even though we're successful as leaders, if we don't have anybody to share that success with, then it will be a lonely success. And so we encourage everybody to think about their values. And if those values align with ours, then this may be just the right community to be a part of. What are the proofs that the vision and the mission are being realized? Throughout this conference, I invite you to watch some of the testimonials that our mentors and mentees are sharing about their experiences within the community.
I think one of the biggest reasons why I've had so much enjoyment and also satisfaction in the past 6 years of my career is all the mentors and the people I've met along the way. At my first job, I can name at least 3 people who've really made a difference at my role, where I was coming out as a fresh graduate, going on to my first client project as a management consultant, not knowing what to do, and having people point me in the right direction. And I think it's so important to make sure that there's someone who's more experienced than you or have more insights who can lead you along the way, and which is why I think the Mentoring Club is so valuable.
When I came in touch with the Mentoring Club, it was just a vast variety of knowledge bases and expertise in all types of different fields. And as I spoke with everyone who was a part of the Mentoring Club, they gave me a new perspective on their own life that was, in a way, something that I felt like I never really had. It was very easy for me just to say, sign me up. I want to just see where I can go with this. And I had nothing to lose, but so much more to gain.
My mentors were very encouraging, because the interview process can be very overwhelming and some of them are really long, and it's really easy to lose the hope during the process. And I was making that transition, which is very, very different, both of them. Thankfully, I had a lot of volunteer experience that was able to kind of make also the transition easier. But definitely having a mentor during that process gave me more motivation and that little push I needed on the day. I didn't really think that I could do it. So having the mentor during that process was really, really helpful. I am in a job right now that I really like, and I'm very happy I made that switch. And just having someone to be your kind of like a cheerleader that time of transition where there is a lot of uncertainty and you're trying to figure things out, it was just really helpful for me.
Hi, I am Manju Abraham and I am a leader. I know that people matter more than metrics. I have led large, complex transformations across organizations as a VP of engineering at companies like Hewlett-Packard Enterprise and Delphix. Very early on, as an architect and manager itself, I learned that results follow when people understand the purpose, feel respected and valued, and know that they belong. Trust is key. Leadership is not about driving numbers first. It is about creating clarity, explaining the why, and setting direction. We have to define goals and measures of success and give them the chance to own it. Metrics do matter, but they are indicators, not the mission. When results fall short, it is rarely a motivation problem. It's usually a resource or a process issue asking to be addressed. That is where leadership matters most. Remove friction so people can take ownership, move with confidence, and do their best. That is how I lead forward confidently.